When discussing shows with a main character that has any sort of level of social anxiety, I would have to say that one of my favorite ones, was one called Stardust Telepath, which was about this girl who had no friends and could not say anything whenever anybody tried to interact with her. This is something that I've seen used once before with this is similar to the new one, Comey Can't Communicate, but it's slightly different in terms of this is a situation where you can't give any reaction. So her idea is that she since she will never be able to communicate with anybody and nobody will ever be able to understand her, she wants to go to outer space and meet an alien, and the alien will be able to read her mind, and she will eventually actually make a friend with a friend, even though the friend will be an alien. This is very sweet, honestly. I feel like a lot of people will be able to understand this from her. I know I did, but my first thought was an alien. I think it's just because that she likes space and the idea of aliens that she came up with this. But when I thought back of what I've thought about what would just make everything better is that even if nobody in the real world will ever be able to connect with me because I'll never be able to say what's in my mind, just having somebody that shows up and that can read your mind, even if you can't say anything, would probably just be amazing. So I can understand immediately what she was thinking when she had this idea. She said I was very shocked, and I'm like, oh, I've thought of that before. That idea of oh, well, if anything got supernatural in my life, then wouldn't that just make everything easier? I'd finally have, somebody who can read your mind without people saying that. So I could understand that. It's the show itself, I think, aside from her, it's extremely beautiful. I haven't seen one so beautiful in a while. It's one of the ones with the ombre, I think it is, with the hair going from one color ending in the next. So, and it had so many really nice galaxy sort of star universe type scenes within it. Every color palette was beautiful. Every character has their own unique, distinct look about them that was just wonderful. And the colors, I was really obsessed with colors. The whole thing gave off this really calming feel, I guess. I really, really love it when an anime is really pretty, especially when it's one that I haven't seen or heard of before. So I feel like if I were to give somebody a list of not somebody who's trying to see if other people understand, what they're going through. But not for that. If somebody were to genuinely want to just look into it and can't just go around asking people with social anxiety, I guess, but to be able to understand how these people really feel, my two top absolute animes of all time that really just, to me, did a perfect job of really going into the mind would be Bocchi the Rock and this one, Stardust Telepath. Just for Bocchi the Rock felt like it was more about the sort of panicky side of things and the train of thoughts just going 100 miles a minute, and then you keep spiraling in whether you're in a public social situation or you're just thinking about one, or you think you're going to be in one, or anything at all that just makes you start panicking and freaking out in some way, I think it did a great job of showing that, and it was still funny, really funny to watch, so it just feels like a great watch. Stardust Telepath seemed to be more about another type of not, still panicking and not being able to cope with a social situation, but just in a different way of just completely putting blockers on and not having to do anything, I guess, just completely shutting your mouth, averting your eyes, just avoiding it completely. And in the show, I think you really got to see, well, they did a really good job of, like, what somebody might think in these situations. Because it's not always just, like, ignore it, look away. It's a lot of, like, that person said hi to me, and I didn't say hi back. I don't know whether I should or I shouldn't, but if I tried to, I wouldn't be able to. But if I did, I probably would have been really bad, wouldn't it? Because I probably would have failed and stuttered in some way. And then in Bocchi the Rock, they did something like that, where she thought about, like, oh, if she had tried to join that conversation, it would have ended really badly, so she's glad that she didn't. Whereas in this one, it was, she couldn't say anything, and then she, after the fact, felt bad about not being able to say anything, because she looked at the people around her and thought, oh, like, this girl who sits next to me has said hi every single day. She's kind, she's a good person, and she's nice to everyone, so she would probably be nice to me, and I probably don't have to be scared of communicating with her. But I also didn't say anything, and I wonder if she probably doesn't like me because of this. I can understand those thoughts. Little different, though. I think the main character in this is a lot nicer, so she sees somebody like this and thinks that she sees a lot of people she wants to make friends with, but just believes that she won't be able to unless they can learn to, I guess, connect with her without her having to say anything. That doesn't really happen. So her dream is to just meet an alien. And then I guess one shows up and she's freaking out, and she actually makes a move but doesn't say anything, and she tries this whole thing, and it was really cute. And then to watch this girl, this telepath girl, show up and just, like, it's like watching your dreams come true on the screen, and it's just, I don't know how to describe that, though. Well, yeah, it's just, it makes you think, wow, if only, and then you feel really bad about how that isn't really possible. But anyway, when watching this show, when watching a lot of shows like this, I always get struck with the same sort of question of, is this realistic or is it not realistic? And that also determines whether or not I think the show is good or not. Bocchi the Rock, I felt, was very realistic, because you could see the people around her think, like, wow, in their heads thinking, wow, this girl's kind of weird, but then still going along with her, and then later finding out, oh, it's not that bad, and, you know, I like being friends with her and all that stuff. And then, because these shows are usually about meeting the new friends, despite not being able to try to make friends first. And in this one, they decided to go with the people around you aren't as scary as they seem, and they probably do want to make friends with you. And I've always had that question of what's realistic in the real world. I still liked it, because it was sort of a give hope kind of thing. Like, sometimes there's always going to be people who, like, the third main girl that you meet, the fourth main girl that you meet, her thing, she immediately looks down on the main character because of, and I guess isn't able to connect with her because she can't, I guess, communicate with her. But not everybody is like that, and a lot of the time you meet people, there are gonna be people who do want to get to know you, and aren't afraid to have to wait for you, I guess. But that idea is like, what's real and what's not. So the question I always have is it like, is the real world where everybody around you really doesn't care at all? Or is it that everybody around you really doesn't mind? And they might sound the same, but to me they're very, very different. I remember all those times where I've been told, you know, you don't have to worry about this happening, or you don't have to worry about these type of situations you're imagining, because the people out there really don't care. But that's never been comforting at all. I would prefer to know that they don't mind, and that the people I want to make friends with, or I think are neat, and I don't want to block out, don't mind that I won't be able to immediately make a connection. In Stardust Telepath, Umika has this girl who sits next to her in class, and this girl says hi to her every single day. And I would describe her as somebody who doesn't mind rather than somebody who doesn't care, because she's just being herself, as in, like, she's not trying to just make friends with this person for any other reason, or maybe she does not try to make friends at all. She's nice to everybody, and she just wants to give a good impression of herself because that's what she wants to do. She doesn't mind if somebody doesn't, I guess, give back that same good morning kind of thing. And then I think Umika can kind of see that, and so that's why you always want to, like, be nice to those people, but you can't always do that, and that's why she feels bad about not being able to return the morning greeting to this girl who sits next to her. And the fact that this girl keeps greeting her every day also makes her, like, even more like, this girl's really nice, you know? I don't usually go out and think, wow, this person's really kind. In fact, I don't think I remember the last time I've gone out and thought somebody was really kind. And I'm pretty sure it's just a matter of perspective. If you're like Umika and you have, everything's, to her, I feel like she believes that it's her fault completely, and that sometimes it's not that it's her fault, it's just that there's a little bit of a push needed. But now she made one friend. Some girl went up to her and made a friend with her, and then that helped her connect with other people. And this was also one of those shows where it didn't end with her being, like, immediately better. In fact, she got to a point where she was doing something, she had to do something extremely out there, not just, like, making a greeting and trying to make a friend or anything, or going out in public at all. It was just really bad, as in it was speaking with the microphone in front of a crowd, live and being recorded. And when I got to this point, I thought, this is not gonna happen. There's no way. If this show is realistic, this is gonna end terribly. It is not gonna go well. And then it didn't. And I was very proud of the show for being extremely realistic. And then it took a dark turn for a bit, but they brought it back somehow. I won't say how. I won't say how this ended, because you need to watch it for yourself. Oh, I'm almost out of time. I'll wrap it up since I can't remember anything else. The show itself was just really good. I really enjoyed it, and everything about it was really great. And not only that, but you got to see how this, like, I guess, ragtag group of friends goes through ups and downs, and then eventually, I guess, they eventually learn to work with each other on this, with each of their distinct characteristics, and I was very proud of that, just being able to see that and witness that. It had great developments with the characters and the story itself. I just felt it was very unique. Like, I never would have thought aliens in this term, or telepathy, until I watched this, and now it's just the one thing that I would, if anybody were to ask for a descriptor, this is the one thing I would think of, like, I guess, what we want sometimes, of, like, we can't just go out and make friends all the time. Sometimes we have it really bad, and it just doesn't work out that way. And all we need is just somebody who can read our mind, but that isn't always possible. In fact, mostly it's not possible, but I'm pretty sure that's why people like to talk about love a lot. A lot of my favorite couples have that sort of, like, you don't have to say it because I understand, and I'll wait for you to be able to say it. Even if you can't say it, I'll wait for you to say it kind of mentality, and I've always loved those. So now, realizing why I like those stories a lot, after watching Stardust Telepath, it all makes sense. It's all coming together now. And I think a lot of people really enjoy this one. It's just so cute, too. So sweet. The pairings were just so adorable. And I really wish that there would be a season 2 of this one. Maybe it's just one of them read the manga type things. And I'd be willing. Especially if it's that beautiful. The whole thing is too beautiful. That's it.